Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Making It with me, your host, Terry Woolman. We're presented by Fireside, and today my guest is singer, hit songwriter, and artist David Pomeranz. I appreciate you joining us every week, and I'd like to share my intention that inspires this podcast. Time passes quickly, and I've learned that we should do what's in our hearts and do it well without apologies or excuses. I encourage you to create your life and art in your own unique way and express your artistry with joy and abandon. Be willing to work uncompromisingly for what you believe in. Success will have a better chance of finding you when you live your life with integrity, focus, and passion. Be selfish with your discipline and selfless in your performance. And don't forget to have fun along the way. If you're joining us in our live audience today, we'll be inviting questions and comments during the second half of the show. So please make it count and simply request an invite to speak. And my wonderful moderator, Dr. Lisa Summerhour, will bring you on stage to join the conversation. And so let me start by, I'm going to start by just saying I'm really excited. I'm excited about all of these shows, but I'm kind of a little extra special excited today because I've been a fan of our guest today, an artist, since his first record came out. And we've been talking about doing this show together, and David's also a fellow podcaster. So there's a lot of reasons for me to be excited. And we're going to be talking about music and life like we always do. So let me tell you about my guest. David Pomeranz is a singer-songwriter who, besides releasing his own albums throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond, penned the hits Trying to Get the Feeling Again and The Old Songs for Barry Manilow. He has also written extensively for film, theater, and television, and his song Greyhound Mary was sampled for hip-hop artist Missy Elliott's Missy So Addictive. Described by Billboard Magazine as one of our finer voices, his recording and songwriting projects have earned him a total of 22 platinum and 18 gold albums, selling over 40 million records internationally. And his YouTube videos have reached over 100 million views. David's video podcast interview series, Song Sessions with David Pomeranz, can be streamed at davidpomeranz.com/songsessions, Spotify, and Podbean. David Pomeranz, welcome to Making It.
Thank you very much, Terry. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Great to be here with you.
Oh, thanks. And here with you, meaning we're not really in the same room. We're doing our continued virtual, safe conversations.
Yes, I mean, alive in present time, planet Earth, same same year, same day, being here with you.
Same moment. Yes, yeah, we are breathing the same air at the same time.
It's true.
And so we're both actually in our writing rooms. You're in your home studio, is that correct, or is this your office?
Yes, this is where I write and record. Yeah, which has become, as you know, it's become kind of a similar endeavor. You know, writing and recording in these studios is very much a similar thing. Do you find that so?
I do. Yeah, and
it's funny because you can put it up in front of you like a painting on an easel, and mess with notes and put it that way and that way. It's really fascinating.
It is, and I do kind of. I'm glad you said painting, because it is very visual to me as well as oral. And when I'm writing songs and arranging and producing, and they're kind of intertwined, and I'm picturing placement of where things go oftentimes along the way. You know, if I'm, I see I know you're known as a piano player, but you also play guitar. I see your guitar in the background. Like if I come up with a specific part, I'm thinking about, does that go to the left and does it balance the triangle on the right? Like I sort of have a producer, arranger ear as I'm recording, but it's kind of in the background. It's just sort of sitting on my shoulder, that aspect of it, because I'm still looking for the magic, as we had talked about in our earlier private conversation, looking for the perfect part. I'm always looking for every word, every lyric, every melody, every chord choice, every guitar part and color that I come up with. I want it to be memorable. I want it to be there for a reason. with no excess. And you, I believe you approach it the same way. I mean, because there's such clarity to your songwriting.
Yeah. Well, the specifics are pretty important. You know, when Sondheim, God bless, Mr. Sondheim, used to talk about how the God is in the details,
right.
And it's actually what's fascinating to me is whenever I'm detailed in my experience or my communication in any way, whether it's lyrically or musically, and I carve it. It seems to communicate better to people. Mm-hmm. They get it. They get something more specific than something kind of general, and then it's it's kind of like pop candy is like but when it's really specific and the right note is found, then it goes ooh, and you have to work at that sometimes.
Let me give an example. Oftentimes I'll start a conversation with a quote or just a fun little piece of information about my guest, but I want to start with a lyric that you wrote. That was my first introduction to you. It was 1975. Our mutual friend Sam Harris, my music teacher, turned me on to your music back in Miami when I was in high school, and because you've got about 5 years on me. So you were already and you started young too, which we'll talk about. I mean, you got a record deal when you were 19, I believe, which we'll circle back to. But let me get to this lyric, because this touched me then and it touches me now. And it's really nice to be able to tell you that directly. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us, by and by. 1975 was when that came out. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a perfect lyric.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to talk about, and there's another lyric too that I want to reference, but I felt like that one again. That was our original introduction, even though we didn't meet until years later, and becoming friends more recently lately. But let's talk about songwriting and the art or the craft of bringing your audience immediately into your story with a single opening line. And here's a really good example of that. The song is Trying to Get the Feeling Again. The opening line, at any moment she'll be walking through that door, but you won't find me behind it. Just the very first line alone, at any moment she'll be walking in through that door. I'm in your story. I already want to know, everything. And I already feel like I know enough to want to follow the story through. Talk about your process and how you create a story like that, a storyline like that, or a world like that.
Yeah, thank you. I want to tell you a quick story about how that came to be. I was on an assignment for the Carpenters. My publisher, Warner Brothers Music at the time, asked me to write something for Carpenters. So I was kind of immersing myself in Carpenter-ish kind of sounding things. And I started to play this tune. I was living in San Francisco at the time. And that was the original lyric. At any moment, she'll be walking through that door, but she won't find me behind it, because the feeling is gone and it just won't come back anymore. I've worked so hard to find it. Up and up, down, trying to get the feeling. Well, yeah. So I put that on a demo for the Carpenters.
Mm-hmm. Playing piano and singing.
In the meantime, yeah, sure. But in the meantime, I wasn't happy with it. I thought it was not quite right. So I wrote a second verse, was an introductory verse, which was when Manilow recorded it. That's the version that got heard. Doctor, my woman is coming back home late today. Could you maybe give me something? It's a little Jewish thing. Could you maybe give me something? Because the feeling is gone and I must get it back right away. Because I've been, to rhyme with something, I've been up, down. So I put that on a demo and sent that to Barry, and he recorded it. And actually, I wasn't pleased with that one either. And when I recorded it on my own Arista album, it was yet another beginning.
Right.
I can't remember. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, so there were three versions of that thing. But then to answer your question, what I'm going for is exactly what you said, is something that's going to go, where are we? Who's speaking? What's happening here? And there's that instant moment, just like you say, where you're pulled in. That was my intention.
And why should I care? Why the listener? Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think, like, you've got a theater background also. I know that your mom exposed you to Broadway plays growing up in New York, but the thing is, I know from my actor friends that there's this thing when you walk out on stage, even if you don't have a line, there's already two other things that had happened in your personal story. Like as an actor, like you don't just walk out and hit your mark. You're already in your story when you walk out. Right. And a really great singer, yourself included, as a performer, Barry is this way as well. When he sings his very first line of the song, it's almost like that's the third line of the song. Like this, you're already in the story. Like the intention is there. I think it's what I noticed from the really wonderful singers is that I know, that really know how to tell a story. Melissa Manchester, our friend, is another one. Like you know how to wrap yourself around the lyrics, and tell the story. And it's, I love that about your music. I always have. So I've never gotten a chance to tell you that. So.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Terry. It's funny you should bring up Melissa too. Mm-hmm. We talked about that very thing. I know you've interviewed her as well as being her friend, and I got to interview her too because we
on your show
a long time.
Yeah.
But we talked about performing something in present time, every time, like you'd never done it before, ever. You think about Tony Bennett singing, I Left My Heart in San Francisco 5 zillion times, and he could easily phone it in and still get applause, but he wouldn't get any goosebumps. What gives people goosebumps is he's presenting it to you right there. Melissa does that beautifully. She's always singing like she never sang it before, and communicating directly, and that's what I seek to do. It sounds like, and you listening, you play guitar. I mean, you could play something and probably plan on it, I'm guessing, and plan on it. And yet when you get into the studio or on the stage, something jumps at you and you just go, and it just changes, and there's a little nuancey thing you never dreamed of. And it's perfect, right? Because you're right there with it.
In the moment. Yeah, being present. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Let's just get this out of the way really quick. Recipient of 35 platinum and gold records, over 40 million albums sold. Also, by the way, you're very well loved in the Philippines, and you've got 2 keys to the city of Manila. You're the only international artist to receive a star on their Eastwood Walk of Fame. There's a whole list of credits and Emmys and everything that you have earned and been recognized for. But that's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, how does that feel for you to have achieved so much with your music?
Well, first it's a little cumbersome because all 40 million records, they're all on my wall, and the walls go.
It's crowded, right?
It's crowded. Well, it's great, and it's great for a bio,
right?
And it's great, and it's great to tell people, so they understand who you are and what you've done, and be impressed, and for whatever reasons, promo reasons, PR reasons.
Sure.
But in fact, it's really true for me that it almost doesn't exist, because it's always, what am I doing now? It's always that way.
Right.
And, having something on the wall, I don't want to be, some old fart that sort of, that's defined by what he's done. I never wanted that. And I never admired people who stuck there. Because, you know, we know there are people that do. They stick there, they depend on that association. They almost become an object of association with other people. That's nonsense. That's not art. It's not music, and I'm always uncomfortable with that. So to answer your question, I'm proud. Yes, and thank you for bringing it up. But I'm working on something now, and if I'm having trouble with it, which I am.
Yeah.
it's for a stage musical.
Right.
Those of you who write stage musicals, you know, you're probably laughing along with me. It's not always easy, but you know, I'll work through it. And when I get that aha moment, and I'm pleased, and it scans the lyric, and it goes, that's exactly right. Or it's mostly right, or whatever, but it's right enough so that I feel something, whatever my criteria is. Once I get that, then I have a new gold album on the wall, so to speak. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's all it is. It's all it is doing the thing.
Do you feel when you begin writing a song, whether it's a pop tune for yourself or for another artist, or writing for theater or film or television, do you get that feeling when you look at the blank piece of score paper or whatever, or paper and pencil for lyrics, sometimes that you don't really know what you're doing until you start? Like, sometimes I have to remind myself that I know how to write for an orchestra when I see that blank piece of paper.
Sure.
Do you experience that? Yeah. Yes,
of course. Well, Sondheim, back to our beautiful Sondheim, in Sunday in the Park with George, in his Pulitzer Prize winning masterpiece, you know, it's about George Seurat, the actor, the artist, and it starts with a white canvas. Oh gosh, could you bring me that book, the Finishing the Hat, the one that we're looking at?
Oh, I think we're about to get a guest appearance.
Uh-oh, wait a minute. Don't come on, guest appearance. Oh, no.
No, for you.
Oh.
I'm talking about your mom.
Accompanying me is my beautiful mom, who's going to get me the Sondheim book. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vanna. You want to say hello? Come here, just
come say hi.
Did I get paid for that?
Did you get paid for that?
Yeah.
No, just come say hi. This is my mom. Come in.
Hi.
Come a little closer because we got.
I want everybody to see your beautiful
face.
There
you go.
Hi.
Yeah. He said, so I'll translate. Anyway, he's saying it. So Mom's going to actually share a few things with you too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But he says, I don't even know where this is. A white, you know, basically, I can't remember it. A white canvas, you know, so many possibilities. He just sits down and goes, oh my God, a blank canvas. Oh my, infinite possibilities. And I don't even have a clue where to start. And the play is beautiful.
Right.
Anyone who knows it will agree, I'm sure. But yes, that's it. Always, it's you've got to prove it yet again, and you have to have faith in what you're doing enough so that you know that it's gonna eventually show up. It will show up if you hang in there.
Right. Beautifully said. Really crystal clear. We are going to be talking about your podcast in a little bit, but let's go to your early years. You were born and raised on Long Island. Correct me at any point if I've done any of this wrong. You, at an early age, you started singing in Synagogue choir, and you performed duets with your dad?
I did.
Was your mom and dad musicians?
Absolutely. My dad was a fantastic singer. Could have been, you know, Vic Damone or any of those guys, you know, Steve Lawrence, any of those guys. That good.
Yeah.
And he also was a painter he was a masterful painter, and was a designer of lingerie for most of his working life. But just a gorgeous artist. And my mother is an actress, and she sings and plays piano, and most importantly, these people being artists raised my sister and I on in a way that brought the art out. It was just art everywhere, music everywhere, things on the wall, things, and it was agreed that we would just all talk about it. I guess some people would talk about sports. We would talk about the latest song, or do you remember when Richard Rodgers hits that chord in Some Enchanted Evening? What about that? And we all knew what we were talking about. My mom would sit around the piano, and my dad and sister Susan and I would sing around the piano, and we do rock and roll tunes because they were young when we got married young, so they knew the rock and roll tunes too. Give me my, give me my imagination. Give me my, give me my imagine. And we'd sing, like that, 3-part harmonies and things. So it was always going on. We had crazy uncles and aunts that would come on Sunday, and we would perform for each other. We'd tell jokes. I would do sketches from one of my favorites, like Shelley Berman or Bob Newhart or something at the time, and we were whacked, all of us, and I wouldn't have changed it for anything at all.
I've asked this of some other guests who have grown up in musical families, and I know that you taught yourself to play guitar and drums. But regarding piano and also singing, are these things that did your mom teach you to play piano? Did your dad teach you to sing, or did it never dawn on you that you couldn't sing?
It never dawned on me. I could always sing. I could always sing. Bang.
And did you along the way study formally for technique for touring and things like that, or are you just natural singer? Period.
Yeah, I am, and I was not afraid to, but I kind of protested having to conform with use your diaphragm and push out the sound. It's like, hey, lady, what is this? What am I doing here? This is not chopped liver here. I'm pushing out the sound. I can know how to do this. That said, it took me many years to find my instrument and to see what it could do. That I didn't know right away.
Right.
How to color it, how to make an effect with it, how to go back with it, how to go softly and do it beautifully, seamlessly is the word. And so that took a while. So I taught myself, but it wasn't just like, I came out of the egg and went, hey folks, da 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 da. I had the ability, but I really worked at it, and I'm a better singer now than I was when I was younger. That's for sure.
And your piano playing, did you study formally? Did you take classical lessons at any point along the way, or reluctantly?
Reluctantly, I took lessons from Miss Parker, who was a large woman. God, I hope she's not still here with us. And she's listening. Oh God, she's gonna be crying. Oh no, you thought I was large. But for 6 months, and I was horribly undisciplined. She'd say, "Here's your assignment. Practice it," and then she'd show up the next week, play what you practiced, and I'd play and I'd stumble, and of course I hadn't practiced it for 8 seconds, and I was not. And I would have done it differently. In hindsight, I would have practiced, and I would have made an effort to be better. But I had this bug in me where I just wanted to do it myself. Find it out myself. So that's what.
And an interesting part of that is also by the time you were 14, you were already starting to write songs. So you had a point of view that you were exploring. That you felt compelled and entitled to and encouraged to in your family, which it sounds like. And I think that's wonderful. And so from October 1968 to January 1969, you were the lead singer in an Ohio-based band called East Orange Express. And some of the people in the band went on to be in Pure Prairie League and some other cool things, I believe. But
it's true.
here's where it gets really interesting to me. When you were 19, MCA Decca signed you to a contract that you did 2 albums back then. That's pretty remarkable. Do you think that would have happened now to you? And also, what was that like being 19 and having a budget and producers and arrangers and, playing your music?
It was wonderful. And of course, Decca had the cachet of being Decca. I don't know, if some of your listeners that don't know what Decca meant. Decca had Judy Garland. Decca had Bing Crosby, and Decca. I mean, that was the company. And then when I was coming up, they had the Who, and Elton John was on Uni. It was Decca. It was a similar company. But it was thrilling. I was turned down by several companies first. Had a wonderful manager in New York named Steve Frank, who was just wonderful, and he really believed in me, and he kept selling me until one day I kept dealing in tapes. Here's tapes.
Cassettes.
Here's tapes.
Yeah.
Cassettes. Thank you. And nothing was shaken. And then we got the idea that I would go in to the head of A&R with my guitar. Unexpected. The meeting was expected, but he expected more tapes. And I nailed him. I mean, basically, I'm sure he was pretty angry at first. We shouldn't be doing this because he puts him on the spot. And I performed well, and I impinged on him, and he signed me. Bang! It was pretty exciting.
Man, that's some old school kind of ways of how things used to happen. I love hearing that, David. Here's something else that's really pretty wonderful on paper and remarkable. So your first album, which I didn't know this, New Blues, and then Time to Fly, because Time to Fly was, I think, when I discovered you. But you started touring around the country as an opening act for Rod Stewart, Billy Joel, Three Dog Night, The Doors, man, the Carpenters, George Benson.
Post Morrison, by the way.
Okay.
He had passed, and the Doors were coming back as a trio.
I remember that.
That was a good. Whoops, I'm sorry. Whoops, I just dropped you, everybody. Sorry, I hope that didn't hurt. Here we go.
Ouch. You okay? Everybody all right?
Everybody okay?
So the Doors, the Carpenters, George Benson, Steve Martin, Steely Dan, Air Supply, Laura Nyro, Randy Newman, my dear friend Phoebe Snow, who was wonderful, Badfinger, and while you were developing a following. So what were those couple of years like? Because that was pure rock and roll time. Were you?
Yeah, it was.
Were you indulging? Were you enjoying being an artist in that way? And I'm not necessarily saying drugs or anything, but women, parties.
Sure.
Was it pretty wonderful and great?
Well, let me give you
and of course,
answer.
David, more importantly, the performing aspect of it. I mean,
well, sure, but in terms of the glamour rock and roll thing, I was doing that in college.
Okay.
And this is after college. I was with East Orange Express, and I was a maniac on all levels, and in Cincinnati, and then when I started to actually tour, I remember touring with Air Supply, let's say.
Oh, sure.
And being and experiencing the bus thing.
Right. And
that was. They were doing what they were doing, and I was watching, and I was learning, and everybody would many of them would be excused and go into their own rooms and on the bus, in the hotel, whatever, and whatever they were doing. And I had my share of it. Yes, of course I did. But I was more into the fact of it. Hey, man, I'm on a rock and roll bus. Wow, this is awesome. And they would tell me stories of their thing. Because you have to remember, I mean, Beatles defined so much. And we were coming right out of the Beatle thing.
And you are deep, like we all are, but you're a deep self-described Beatles geek.
Yeah, I'm I'm geek to the max with Beatles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Get Back. Have you seen Get Back? The
No, I haven't seen it. Not yet. Oh. But I will tell you, I will, just because we're talking about this, my first tour in a rock band was playing guitar for Billy Preston in 1981. And we were in Europe. You know, we were in the UK and Germany for 5 weeks. And so being exposed to touring, you know, you're talking about your first being on the bus and everything. You know, I was touring, you know, with the Fifth Beatle, and it was pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
I hear he was a really lovely guy, right? A really upbeat, sunny guy.
Yeah, he was great. He was great.
Yeah.
He could. I mean, he could. But he could school you. You know, he would My very first show that I did, this will lead. Since we're talking about this, do you remember your first time playing to a stadium? I'm curious what that was about. But my first time with Billy, I went to Motown on Sunset and picked up 20 records that they gave me and said, learn these 50 songs, and there are no charts, no nothing, and and we go there, and the very first, and we were opening with Sarita Wright, so we had played her show because they had Born Again, the duet. Nice. So we did that. Oh, it was incredible. And then Billy came out and started playing and singing a song that was none of the 50 that I had learned. He just started playing a song. Didn't turn around to say what key it was, what song it was. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, I just, you don't learn that in school. They don't teach you that in music school. I don't have perfect pitch. I just didn't know what to do, and I'm standing in the lights and everything. But he turned around, he wasn't happy with what the drummer did, the drummer was the one who got me the audition, and the drummer was, Billy was the godfather of this drummer's son. So they were close. He had been on a lot of tours. He turned around in the middle of that first song and basically just said, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but he just turned around and said, boy, if and he just said, you don't know what to play, don't play, or, and then turned around and started smiling and singing again. Scared me to death. I thought, I am so fired. Yeah. I'm not going to make it to the second show. So but he was I loved him. He was so amazing. But you had to listen. I mean, right then, that's your only way, right? You got to listen hard. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wake up, listen.
Right.
And come through,
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And, again, wasn't in any book I had ever read. It wasn't in any class I'd ever taken. And it wasn't any experience that I had ever had on a stage.
Sure.
Doing a concert. So what was yours? What do you remember, your first day making your first record, when you got your deal, or that first day when you were on the road, with a major artist opening? And did you feel ready? Were you scared? Were you excited?
No, I was excited. I was thrilled. I was a very presumptuous young fellow, and
good.
I wanted what I wanted. Yeah. I knew what I wanted, and I drove more than several engineers and producers insane by my insistence on the right bass drum sound. For instance,
good for you, by the way.
There were records out by the band at the time.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the early, when I first started, and Lee Von Helm's bass drum thing, right in your face, right? And then a minute later, the Tapestry and Sweet
Russ
Baby
Kunkel.
James, those things.
Yeah,
Kunkel, where again the bass drum was round and thumpy and heartbeat and in your face, and it's gorgeous. It's 2/3 of the space of the record. And then the other third, I'm being silly, but the other third was, Lee Sklar's bass, together.
Sure.
The point being that I wanted that.
Yeah.
I wanted that. And my first couple of producers didn't know how to get that yet. Mm-hmm. I won't say the first one, because he's actually was, in his own right, I'll tell you who he was, because he was that esteemed. A guy called Ray Ellis. Do you know that name?
I do, but I don't remember.
He arranged for Billie Holiday,
right,
and Judy Garland. I mean, he was like a real guy, but he wasn't yet into what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so, and then the second album was with a genius producer called Charlie Colello. And Charlie had just produced
Paul
Eli.
Simon? Oh.
No,
Wow.
For Laura Nyro.
Laura Nyro, yeah.
Yeah, Eli's Come
Wow.
and Hide Your Heart Girl, all that. And that album on Columbia was genius. And so I was very blessed to have
What a
that
great
guy
choice for you,
producing an
because
album.
you're also vocal, songwriter.
For sure. But I drove him crazy. I want that bass drum, man. Give me the bass drum. And they would all look at this saying, David, it's a bass drum.
Right.
But they didn't get it. Anyway, it's a long, I don't want to get into that, but yeah, but
so
but
first, go ahead.
Okay. No, I was only going to say I was avid, and I knew what I wanted, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well as the other musicians listening. That moment when you heard it back on the studio speakers, and it's loud, and it's all frequencies perfectly knit, and it's the most thrilling experience of anything. Yeah. And so to answer your question, what do I remember about it? It was at the end of the day when we did get it, and we listened back, and I'd go, man, I'd have critical thing. Let's tweak that, sure. But that wasn't the point. It's what you know. Yeah. You've been there, Terry, and that's a great joy. So much so that I wish everybody could hear any record that they love on that size speaker system.
Right.
In a room that's tuned to making that beautiful effect.
Yeah. And what about the first time you heard yourself on the radio? That
was great.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I was driving and I pulled over and I went, wow.
Me too. I had to pull over. I started crying. Now I want to hear your story.
No, that's the same story.
Well, okay, mine. I was driving. It was in Los Angeles. It was on Sepulveda or Sawtelle, like somewhere in West LA. Just driving, but I do remember the street. And I was listening to The Wave, 1988. My first record came out, and I hear this song, and I thought, God, that sounds great. And then I thought, it took me a moment to realize it was me. And the reason was not because I wasn't expecting to hear. I suppose it might sound arrogant, but it's not. It's just confident. When I made my first record, I just did it believing that it was going to get radio play. But not this song. This was the one song on the record that was an 8-minute long ballad called Reflections. I'll send it to you. And please. That's the first song that got played on the radio, all 8 minutes of it.
Wow.
And it's a song that I wrote. It's a song that I wrote for my dad. And my dad died when I was 17. And so I had moved out here. It was a Father's Day. I was feeling sad, melancholy. And I thought, let me write, so I wrote the song, and it was that song. So that one, and I thought I'm going to do a radio edit of it, and I could never fade it out because it was just too beautiful. I mean the playing, not, the playing. I can't wait to share this with you. And it was just one of those moments, which you've had many. So when it finally, I realized that it's me that, I'm driving and I'm hearing the song that was the one that was just for us, for anyone who bought the record or for us who played it. I just pulled over and just started crying. I was just so overtaken with everything, and finally, like those moments when you experience your dreams, when your dreams become these moments of reality, it's quite fantastic and overwhelming.
Yes,
and
yes, it is.
And I know that you know that because you've experienced that as well through your whole life.
Well, they played the entire 8-minute version.
Yes.
Of it, right? Oh, yes. Boy. See, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, they did
And
that.
like-
They did that back then too. But go on.
Yeah, and there was still those days like there'd be the Inagata Davida drum solo or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
But mostly you had to edit your songs to 3.5 minutes, and every
Yeah,
other
the
one
best you
was.
could.
That one was just that one was what it was, and so that was a beautiful entry into fulfilling that vision when you actualize it, when it becomes real in the world. And so I want to talk to you about that.
Sure.
Because one of the things I know about you are very physically healthy. You walk and you run every day, so it's for your heart and your muscles, but it's also for your mind, to set your intentions. And I know that you are practice. I don't know if that would be the right word, Scientology, if it's a practice or.
Sure.
So that's a part of your. I see you as a manifester, And earlier on, I know that you were involved with Est and with Werner Erhard. Like you are a seeker, of not wasting your life, of embracing and doing the most, not the least. And
Right.
where did that come from, and how does that integrate into your life? Because it seems you've been having a beautiful life. You're watching your son grow up. You're like, not that everything's perfect, but
Sure.
how does you, and like you said, when you were younger, like you had this sense of, it's not entitlement. It's just this understanding that you have this gift, and you were precocious, and of course you're 19 years old and you get a record deal with Decca. It's like,
Right. That's right.
why wouldn't you?
That's right.
But so tell me about your practice, your outlook.
Oh. Well, again, growing up with these people called my parents, they were like that. And
Okay.
they'd help each other, and they'd help people, and they had a very kind of a liberal, not politically liberal necessarily, but just a for everyone, let's help the world and this sort of thing. So that was in there. But I think I'm not a fan of the genetic thing.
Okay.
It's like, well, I got it from my parents and it was in my genes, and I have friends that believe in that, and I say all the best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't happen to. I think we all come in with with who we are. It's probably safe to say we've been here before. Whether that's real or not, to some people, it's fine. But in my experience, I think that's so. But in any event, we come in with a package, and it's called me, and you, and
Right.
and it's not a function. It can be a function to some degree of difficulties growing up, and the teacher embarrasses you, and they get scarred for life, and blah 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 blah. But I don't know. There's not much responsibility in that viewpoint to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I don't know if I should even say this. Of course I should.
Yeah.
The guy's bullied. The guy's bullied, and yeah, that's horrible, and it is. There's no question that it is. But I'm not saying that the guy who's the target of the bullying, I mean, what did he have to do with it? Nothing. I'm sorry. I know that people are going to listen to this and they're going to go, "Oh, David, you're a heartless ass." That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I see that I make my world good, bad, twisted, straight, cheating, or with honor. It's my business. Right. And if I get clobbered with something, chances are, if I look, I might have had something to do with it. If I miss something, listen, we're talking about making it, and we're talking about careers and things. I mean, how many times, I'll maybe evaluate for you, but I can say for me for sure, how many times could I have done it differently? And in retrospect, would have done it differently, because I feel more responsible for myself and such. But I think the right viewpoint, and having to do with making it, is to assume the viewpoint that it's up to me. It's up to me. And if I've made an upset with someone, or if I mistreated them, like the guy in the recording studio, if I did that, what I might have added to it now is a little more communication and a little more, hey, I know you want to get me, you're trying to help me get a great record. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I admire you so much. But there's this little thing called a bass drum. Let me show you what I have in mind. I could have handled it beautifully.
Lead with that. Right.
Thank you. So that's I think it's an important viewpoint. So that's a long way of answering the question about my view, is that I got to have my head screwed on straight, so I walk and I run, and I walk before I run, because I don't run until my head's screwed on straight. I look at the trees, I look around. I don't think too much, but I just sort of look at what's bothering me, look at what's exciting me. I just kind of poke at it.
Right.
No big serious thing. And
You
all of a sudden, sorry.
You had told me that before the show, when we were talking, that you do it to organize your day and to rekindle purpose if you ever lose sight of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I lose sight of it sometimes. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing that snaps back in when I know I'm ready to run my body is when I get back to the fact that, I get what I'm doing here. Oh, I see. I'm not a technocrat. I'm not just making calls for no reason and having meetings that I hate and all of that. I start to go, okay, I start to put it in some focus and realize what I'm after. And listen, it's not a big, complicated thing. I just come there. I don't know. Are you? I saw maybe are you a Buddhist? Do you?
No, I grew up Jewish. I meditate. I have a strong spiritual practice. That's a lot of it is through music and art and exercise.
Interesting. Well, I can tell through your work that you would do something spiritual about you, and it all comes from the essence of you. And so if you can't find that, and if I'm all confused
right.
and scrambling for it, I can't be effective anywhere, and I'm unhappy.
Right.
So I just locate myself. That's all I mean to say.
Right.
I locate myself. Oh, a tree. Oh, it's a telephone pole. Oh, here I am.
Right.
And then I go.
Mm-hmm. And to answer to your question, I think I've always been curious about religions and techniques and meditations and healthy living.
Sure.
On every level, and some of that I think came about from being fortunate to have a couple great teachers in high school that exposed me to, we're reading Krishnamurti and we're reading about Buddhism and we're reading about Yogananda in high school, and so like I was getting kind of cracked open in that way and learning about Gestalt, Fritz Perls and, just trying to figure out how to be healthy. And then and then losing my dad when I was young and then having to grow up quickly and being on my own. And so I needed to find tools to just climb out of this hole that I was in from trauma. So to me, so I was finding, and I didn't want to turn out like some other friends and people that I knew who were getting deep into drugs or into things that just seem destructive, not constructive or productive.
Right.
But I've always been open and curious about that. And so it's so interesting to hear you talk about that, but it's always felt to me like you've had a strong intention, a clear practice and like, I'm just going to flatter you because it's just the truth. But I mean, you look fucking amazing. You know, like you're not a kid, and you look,
Sorry,
vital.
Someone just
healthy.
called in on. Someone just called in on my line. Please
Okay.
say the last line again. I'm so sorry.
I never use profanity on this show, but I will say it twice because you missed it. I just wanted to say that it's clear to me that you've always had a strong intention in your practice, and I also, just from an observational point of view, you look fucking amazing. You know, you're not a kid,
Thanks.
and you look, besides just looking great, and you look vital, you look strong, you look vibrant, so it's working.
Well, thank you. I will say Scientology's had a lot to do with that for me personally. I've gotten so much out of that, and it does seem to keep me young, keep my viewpoints young, and it's incredibly helpful.
So in Scientology is like you had said earlier, or that you consider it a practice. So there's meditation techniques or things like that, or it's just you find just the philosophy and the practice of it kind of keeps you centered in physical and spiritual and emotional ways?
Well, what's really great about it is that with all of the many things that I've tried and looked at, and I always found myself having to do it again or do more of it.
Right.
I got to do the same thing. And yes, you could think with my story about walking and, having a practice about it. And that's something that I do and choose to do. But with Scientology, interestingly, what it does is it actually handles the travail and cock-a-doodle, the baggage that everybody walks around with.
The noise,
it handles
the clutter,
the noise, clutter,
Okay.
whatever you want to say,
Okay.
the unwanted emotions, the things like the kind of, doesn't take your emotions away, just it handles the things that don't make sense. And why am I walking into a room and feeling sad or afraid? And I have no reason to do that. Anyway, the point in simplicity, so it handles all that. And when it takes that, when that is gone, what's left is you.
Right.
And that's it. And then you get to make your choices, live your life. Life becomes more rich and more causative and more responsibility and all of these things. And that's what it's given to me. Anyway, I'm a better man for it by far. And if you knew me before, you would smile and say, "Yeah, man, amen." But anyway, so yes, I couldn't be more thrilled with my experience with Scientology.
Well, thanks for demystifying that aspect of Scientology, because it's not something that I have opportunity to talk about with friends who follow Scientology in practice.
Yeah, it's a last thing I'd say really quickly, and
Yeah.
which is the point is to restore the person to their own self-determinism, and that's a great. I mean, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
Right.
So that they live their life, not the life their parents tell them, not the life the teacher said, not the life the rabbi said, the actual thing that they want. And what's really beautiful is it's for all religions, because I mean, I have lots of minister friends and lots of Jewish friends who are very deep rabbis who practice Scientology because it makes their sermons, let's say, more beautiful, more specific. There's more heart and soul. It gives you more. I call it like hamburger helper for the soul. It gives you more of what you want.
Right.
And that's all. That's my spiel.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome.
By the way, as we're getting to closing questions, and can you stay an extra couple minutes on the show? Or
yeah, of course.
Oh, great.
I'm not going anywhere. COVID's out there.
That's right. Where we're going to go. It's just. By the way, anybody in our virtual audience, if you want to jump up and ask a question or a comment, just request with Dr. Lisa and come up on stage, and we'll include you in this conversation. I want to talk about your song sessions, your podcast, which I love. Okay. I love, and
Thank you.
And I know it's one of the things that we have connected on, because we both we share a purpose and an intention in why we do it and how we do it. And it's so refreshing. I remember emailing you recently because I was on a deadline, for something, and I'd made the mistake of turning on, one of your interviews, and I had to watch the whole thing. I was an hour and a half in, and I just stayed up extra late to get done what I needed to get done because it felt really authentic and real and fascinating to me. So a couple of your guests so far have been Barry Mann, Melissa Manchester, Richard Marx. It was the Richard Marx one that I made the mistake of turning on. I'd also seen the Paul Williams one, David Shire, and there's more coming up.
Yeah.
So what possessed you to decide that you wanted to be a podcast host? And I'm glad you are.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't have any. It's only I'm assuming the similar reason that you're doing it, which is these people need to be known. Some of them are new, some of them are not, but they're part of our artistic landscape. Right. And all generations need to know who Paul Williams is.
Yeah.
For example, we have people coming. We have Alan Bergman coming up. Who, Marilyn Bergman, the way we were, and all this. And the fact, I think what was driving me is the fact that it's some of these people are older, or it's from a couple of decades ago or more. It's like saying, well, Rembrandt's redundant. I mean, for God's sake, it's 400 years ago. What's that? Right. It's not cool. It's not hip. It's so similar because any great work of art is forever, and these people worked hard at it. So my purpose is to shine the light on them, shine the light on their work, and inspire people, old and young, to reach for something higher. There is something more. You can be great. You said it in the very beginning of this interview, the specifics, the details, you work hard at it, and I'm not saying you have to, like when I wrote It's in Every One of Us in 20 minutes, but that was a gift. But it's, right. Anyway, these people work hard at it. And when you hear it, the perfect rhymes, and you hear what the lyricists shine the light on, and for what reason, and how it sits in the music. And when the word is up and the note goes up, it's not just happened. Right. These guys worked at it. So the end result is Rembrandt. The end result is, my boy Sondheim,
Right.
West Side Story. That's the last thing I want to say. I want to blabber on, but West Side Story is out now. And I hope everyone in the world sees it. Young people will not have probably heard it. That score, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim. Mm-hmm. And when I was 5 years old, that's what I heard, and that's what made me cry, and that's what made me decided on my den floor, like it was yesterday, that there was nothing else I wanted. There was nothing else I wanted. I wanted to settle. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be in it. I wanted to drink it. I wanted to smoke it. I wanted to touch it. Nothing else. And it was the closest thing to religion as I'd ever experienced before or since.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason you asked me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that this beauty is always here, always, and that new writers can stick something they learned into their tool belt and go, oh, you know what? I really get that. I see what he did there. Doesn't mean they have to write like them. Just study the masters, like study Degas, study Van Gogh, study these people, trace them, it makes you better. So there you go. And if I'm elected,
I'll vote for you. Just based on your speech just right now, and the thing is, and I got to say this. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off, but you do the same thing with your podcast. You do the very same thing. You are so cheerful and what's the word? Interested. See, you're fascinated and interested, and that's what inspires the listener. So you're doing the same thing, and
it needs to be done. So thank you for doing
It does. You're welcome, and thank you. And it does need to be done. That's why I'm doing it. I just think it's so important to share your story, our stories, and not just stories, but paths, choices, intentions, all of those things, and the history, this lack of not looking back, towards who influenced you as a songwriter. You just said you just brought me to that moment, when you heard West Side Story and you were a little kid, and it just like the universe shifted in that moment. Like you just took me to that moment as if
what was it for you? What was it for you?
I heard Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Otis Redding. I was in junior high school, and I was, it was phys ed. We were running laps and all that stuff, and I'm in Miami, and I remembered this moment. And there was some limousine driver who had parked his car in the shade, by the school, and he had the stereo on, and that was blasting out of the stereo, and I just walked towards or ran towards that sound, as a moth to a flame, or just, I was just pulled in to the sound, the feeling, the emotion, everything about it. And it just made me want to do that. I didn't even know what that was. I just knew that I wanted to know what that was and to be in it. It pulled me. So I think that might have been my moment.
Wow, amazing. And sorry, go ahead.
I think there were others, but that's a real clear one.
Wow, I can understand that. What an incredible record that was.
Yeah.
Steve Cropper and the bass part, and Otis Redding's performance, and the guitar and the song. It's kind of amazing. It is.
It really is. And I didn't grow up in a musical family, so I didn't have that gift, that opportunity of being encouraged, and or exposed. We had, I think we had 2 records. My family had 2 records. They had this album called The Stripper.
David Rose.
David Rose, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I knew music was. We had AM radio. Of course, we all listened to all the, everything. I mean, that was the cornucopia of all the different styles of music, back then, from Sly and the Family Stone to whoever, Lou Rawls, or, just back the Monkees, like everybody. It was like just amazing. Of course, the Beatles and the Stones. But we had that. And then they had that comedy album of the Kennedys. Remember that?
Sure, the First Family.
Yeah, First Family. So those were the 2. We had 2 records in the house, and then my first album that I got was Play Along with the Ventures.
Oh wow!
And the very first song was called Tuning. You would tune your guitar. It would play an E and an A, and you would tune to and then you would play along to Wipeout and all that stuff.
Wow.
It was really cool. And then awesome. I got a Monkees record. That was it was a prize, during the high holy days where, they hide the matzah, and whatever kid finds it gets the prize. I found the matzah, at the friend's house, and it was a Monkees record, and I was beside myself. It was just great. It was just great. One of my better Jewish experiences.
I have a question for you. So what guitars did the Ventures play, sir?
Was it Telecaster? No.
I mean, what brand? Does anybody know out there who's listening? Call in.
I don't know, listeners.
It's on the back of any record that it has the Ventures on it. It's the labels there. It's Mossrite.
Oh wow, that's some deep trivia. That's great. And so what would I have won if I had known that?
Oh, you would have run a Mossrite guitar, which is probably worth $50,000 now.
Probably.
If you find one.
Probably.
Great.
So I didn't have my Sondheim moment, Leonard Bernstein moment when I was a kid because I wasn't exposed to it. But I sure did a lot of catching up, and I still have those moments, David, where I just and it's with sometimes conversations like these, but certainly musical experiences, artistic experience, even if I'm not involved, watching, listening, just experiencing art, looking at a painting can do it to me. Watching a sunset can do it to me. Playing with a puppy, tickling a little puppy's belly. Mm-hmm. Those things reconnect me to the same experience, the universal experience of wanting to create art and share it, because I don't know about for you, but for me, it's so interesting what we do because there are hours and hours and years of isolated experiences, writing, practicing, working on our craft, recording, editing now, like all the things we do for, self-production in our studios, but those moments of connectivity, when we make a record, really where I was going with this is like, for me, my experience of recording an album isn't really complete until it's out in the world and people hear it. To me, that's the complete part of the experience. It's just like performing in a way, like you give out all this energy, but you take in even more. It's circular. Yeah,
that's right.
In performance. So.
Well, it is communication after all. It's all it is. And communication goes this. I say hi, you say hey, and I say nice shirt, and you go thanks. That's the nature of it. It goes back and forth.
Right.
And it's gotta land. And when the audience acknowledges that they got it, or you see that they got it, either it's clappy clappy, or you see it in their eyes, or you see the smile or a tear or whatever. It landed, and it's just what you're expressing. It's
or for you, like I would imagine, like in 1975 or before that, when you wrote the lyric to "It's in Every One of Us," and how many years later, 2021, there's some other human repeating your words back to you in this conversation. I mean, there's such beauty and power and connectivity in all of that. That an experience that you had, this gift, as you said, because that song happened quickly and it was a gift. I know we didn't get into the details of it, but that gift is still giving, and I've carried those words with me for the same amount of years that you've been carrying them with you. They came through you, but they've been embedded in my heart for all of these years, because that's the power of art and expression.
Well, it is, and it's testament. This is not some airy-fairy philosophical thing I'm about to say, but there is no time. Mm-hmm. There's no time. I can remember writing that song, and the song was true, and the song stays true, and it's the Rembrandt thing. I'm not positioning myself with a Rembrandt. Mm-hmm. I'm saying it's that thing that when it connects and it works, it always will and always does. When you hear Benny Goodman in the 30s playing "Sing Sing Sing" on the stage of Carnegie Hall, and that with that incredible all-star band, what are we talking about? 80, 90 years ago, and it hasn't diminished at all. It's as exciting as ever.
Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World" with Artie Butler's amazing arrangement. That's still, that hasn't aged.
Great example, yeah. And how old is that record? It's old.
Yeah.
60s. Mm-hmm. It's old. That's an old record.
Yeah.
And it's gonna stick around. And last thing I was saying about that is look at the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like them or not or whatever. I mean, what are we talking about? 50, 60 years later?
Right.
It's like, why? What was that, And it's more than just memories. It's more than just nostalgia. I remember I was on the high school basketball team and it's there was something in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was something in it. You know, when do you mind if I geek for a second?
Go.
Okay, so, you know, I was listening to 8 Days a Week the other day, and what they did in the studio, also because of the engineer Jeff Emmerich and George Martin, the producer, they and the players, Ringo and John Lennon on his jangly live acoustic guitar. There was no plugins then. You put the mic in front of the guitar and play, and it was EQ'd to be really mid-range. He took all the bottom off it, and Ringo Starr's half-open hi-hat just happens to make a sound with Lennon's guitar. It's a sound, and when you hear it, listen to that. I know you have, and you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That, you know, you call it jingle jangly, you know, isn't that cute? But it's extraordinary. Never before had it been done, and it has never been duplicated. So why would that ever go away? It's exhilarating and thrilling. Mm-hmm. Period. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I'm totally geeking out with you on that. It's really kind of fun to do. It's so before I get to my closing questions, which I will now, but I do want to mention, you are far from done in being a creative artist. You're still always writing and doing new music. I know that you performed a duet with Ann Wilson from Heart. That's like a new project, one of the new things that you're doing that's going to be coming out, I think, this year. Where can people
that's
hear
what
that?
They tell me. It's an animated film, so God knows, you know.
Okay.
I don't know when these things go, but
that's pretty great. So, and are you? Can I expect a new David Pomeranz album maybe in the next year or two, or a single?
Yeah.
Or
no, I'd like very much to get back on that one. I've been working on theater projects for the last few years, and I have songs that I'd like to perform, and songs that I've yet to write, and I need to. And thank you for saying so, because I need to actually get back in the chair and do it. You know, so yeah.
Well, I'll cheerlead you onto that, or if you ever need a pep talk, a reminder. Yeah, we need more of your music in the world.
Or a good producer and arranger and songwriter like yourself, and player.
I'd be thrilled. Yeah, absolutely.
Me too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, by the way, that's one of the beautiful things about the pandemic. There's a lot of things that have been really challenging, but one of the real beautiful things is the collaborations and opportunities that have come about through people being at home, and I'm thrilled with the idea of doing anything musically with you. So we will continue that conversation privately. Good. But the answer is 100% yes. Whatever the question is, the answer is yes.
Thank you. Do you guys know who's listening? Have you ever heard the album that Terry arranged and produced for Melissa Manchester a few years
You Gotta
ago?
Love the Life, her 20th album.
Oh man, that is a smoking hot album. It is gorgeous. So everybody listen to that. That's a masterwork. That's beautiful.
Wow. That means a lot to me, and in a way it's a double blessing, because you just said that to me to acknowledge the work that Melissa and I did in our collaboration. Barry Manilow said the same thing to me, you know, which after that album came out, he pulled me aside and said, that's the best Melissa Manchester record that I've ever heard.
Wow.
You know, and I think part of the reason is because it's authentically hers. It's the first. I wanted, as her producer, co-producer, she asked me to produce. I said, I will co-produce it with you. I want this to be your opportunity to make the record that you've always wanted to make, because nobody's ever created a space for you to do that. You've always, you know, been under a record label, and now she's an independent artist, and I wanted her to have a point of view and explore that, and we did. And I think that's why that record is so special. We brought in magnificent musicians and songwriters, and, you know, I mean, come on, that was such a thrill to do duets with Dionne Warwick and Al Jarreau.
Oh, yeah, Al
and
Jarreau's
Stevie
on it.
Wonder.
And Stevie.
You know, we were, and you know, Dave Koz and Joe Sample. I mean, there were moments where Melissa and I were just pinching each other, you know, in the studio, because it was magnificent. But so thank you for saying that. And Spotify, iTunes, wherever you can go to melissamanchester.com, and it's called You Gotta Love the Life. And she's done some other work since, and that's also really wonderful.
Yeah,
but it was such an honor, you know, and thrilled. I adore her, you know.
Yeah.
And another one, I mean, you know, when I was listening to your first albums, I was listening Home to Myself. And you guys were friends back then, you know.
Yeah.
You were recording together. And
yeah, we were both on Arista, and
Right.
she sang background on Trying to Get the Feeling Again.
I read that.
On my, yeah, so I've been up, up, down, down. She was the up, up, down, down girl.
it's magnificent. It's great. Yeah. David, my
Yes,
my closing questions that I ask all of my guests, there's
Yeah.
3 questions, and then I'll give you final closing words. Since the show's called Making It, what does making it mean to you both personally and professionally?
Oh, making it. Well, it's not unlike what Lisa just said. It's like, you know, you have a goal, you set out, and you make it in your own estimation, you know, and making it. I don't know. You know what? Making it is just being interested all the time. It is. You've heard it a million times. Professors have said it. You know. It's not the getting there. It's not the arriving. It's the getting there, and it is. I mean, getting there is without, you know, getting there without the arrival kind of sucks. It's not so great. That's unrequited, and that's a bad time. But it's so much of it, right, Terry? So much of it is doing it, being with those musicians, listening to the playback in the studio, hitting heads with the executive, having the doubts in the dressing room before you go on, winning them over because somehow, I mean, so making it has so many colors and so many different ways of being experienced, but it's just seems to be being in it. Right. I know so many people, myself included, who spend many, many years multitasking, doing a million things at once. Me too. You know, eating, calling, writing, thinking, blah, blah. And the moment didn't exist because I wasn't there.
Right.
I just wasn't there. And when I write a song by myself or with someone else, but especially by myself, you know, there's a chance for that moment where I go, that's the word. That's the word I've been looking for. And the chills come up and the smile comes on and I made it.
Right.
I made it. And lots of that is so having lots of that is a making it life. Lots of interest, lots of application, work, sky high goals, dreams, all that on the way. Yeah, and being there for it. That's all.
Right. That's beautiful.
Good question.
And good answer. Thank you. My next question. Can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
Oh, okay. Show up. Be very social. I don't mean lying to people and befriending them because they can help you. Although that seems to be not the lying part, but the association part. But it's a social sport.
Yeah.
Any business is a social sport. Anything in life is a social sport. So what I tell people is go to the party, go to the jam session, play at the bar mitzvah. I can't tell you how many opportunities that I've had I never expected,
Right.
because I played at somebody's wedding. Hey kid, come here. You never know. You never know. So play a lot, show up, do it in front of lots of people, and get out of your room and mingle. That's the one. Two, I would say, listen to the others, listen to other people, and respect them and honor them. It's something I had to learn. It's like I mentioned to you before, where you have to understand that they have a universe too. They have their own goals and dreams. You're not the only one in the room. and to really know that,
Right.
and in doing that, you make lots of friends, and naturally things go well. So that's another one, is honor people, and the other one is to push through, and don't give up. That's the easy, common answer. I'm sure you've heard it a million times, but it's the truth. If you do it 2/3 and you weenie out, that's on you. And I'll experience my own experience, that never goes away. Never goes away. I can put it aside. It doesn't stop me anymore. But I look at it and I go, I should have taken that opportunity that came into me and yelled in my face, opportunity, and I was scared, or I didn't think I could. And that's the other thing I'd say is push it through, get it done, finish it, and like you said, get it to land with others, and then you can end off on it and do another one. But it's gotta land out there. So don't weenie away from it and have an unrequited life and a wish I might have life. Yeah.
Good.
That's 3.
It's pretty
I
great.
got 12, but that's
Yeah. That was jam-packed.
another show.
Yeah, I love it. My final question is, at this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true,
Yeah.
and it's quite a life that you've been having, as a young boy growing up with this gift and talent, but also the encouragement and confidence to just go for it, to having this beautiful career, beautiful family, and good health, and all of the things that you are conscious of continuing to create and recreate in your life. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Wow, that's a great question. First thing is, how the hell do I get this piece of spaghetti out of my ear? I don't know how this even got here. But as my younger self, well, I think I said it already. I would say, be more mindful of others, son. Respect the others, and be interested in them. Don't be so interested in yourself. Be interested in them.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to thank your mom for having you, and your dad.
Thank you.
and your mom for saying hi.
Okay, she's going to say goodbye.
Oh,
My
good.
mom. This is my mom. That for those of you who didn't see the beginning, this is Bonnie.
Hello
Bonnie.
there.
She's
Bonnie, thank you.
She's 25 years old,
Yeah.
and she
Well,
gave birth to me. I'm Benjamin Button. It's nice to meet you all.
This has been delightful. Thank you for letting me be part of it.
Thank you,
I
Bonnie.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's
All the
more
music-
special
all-
with you.
Thank you. It's all the music that was in the house and all that rich stuff that I was talking about. That she and my dad were the ones that put it there.
Bravo. Well done. Yeah, absolutely. I want to give you closing words, and before I do that, I just want to thank you, David. I just adore you. And it's so great that we're becoming the friends that we have been, especially lately. I really appreciate that, and I'm
me too.
totally
Thank you.
enjoying it. It's great to be able to share your journey with our listeners. I want to thank our virtual audience. Thank you for spending this hour and a half almost with us. And to everybody who's listening to the archives and streaming at your own convenience, and streaming David's podcast also at your convenience, I highly encourage you to do that. We know there's a lot you could do with your time, and I could say for both of us that we both appreciate you sharing your time with us and being interested in what we have to say and the stories that we both, David and I both, want to share with all of you. Dr. Lisa, thank you, of course, as well, always, for being a part of these conversations. And
thank you, Lisa.
And minding the store, as we're having. So, David, any closing thought or anything you want to make sure people know about you, where to find you?
Nice.
But essentially, davidpomeranz.com is a good place to start. There's a merch store, too. And they have onesies. You have onesies.
There's onesies. There's a Born For You. The song I wrote with Dave Zippel, Born For You. And then we make little onesies.
That's great.
Born For You.
Closing thoughts? Comments? Anything else you'd
I've
like to share?
I've enjoyed this so much. This is such great fun. And yeah, this could be our get back, our 6-hour, 72-hour
miniseries. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is great fun, to talk with other people who know what they're talking about and share all these sorts of things. So thank you for having me, Terry. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
You're a great man. Yeah, you bet.
Thanks. Likewise. Great to see you. To be continued, and I'm excited about our collaboration that we're going to be talking about, however that plays out.
Good, me too.
So, everybody, take good care, stay safe, stay inspired, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks all.
Tune in again